Other than that, she's a great therapist.
She doesn't know where she.
First lady sometimes.
She doesn't know where she went to school. Okay.
It's just fictitious degrees.
Okay, Joey. Let's see. If y'all are ready, we are ready.
Hi, I'm Joey Wills, and I'm here with Stephanie Swann. Stephanie is the founder of Youth Pride. Thanks for talking to us today, Stephanie.
No problem, my pleasure.
Now, Youth Pride has been around since 1995.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about what was happening in your life that gave you the initiative to create a gay center for youth here?
Sure. Gosh, it has been 5 years. Sometimes it doesn't seem like it's been that long. At the time, I was working as a clinical social worker in community mental health with children and adolescents. And a colleague of mine, Rusty Moore, who was practicing as an out gay therapist, and I, who was practicing as an out lesbian therapist. And what I mean by that is we were out to our colleagues, and so everyone on staff knew what our sexual orientation was. And whenever gay kids would come in, we would kind of get them shuffled to us,
right.
which yes, I was glad that we were able to provide that service. But what I realized is we started seeing quite a few gay kids or either kids struggling with their sexual orientation, and what was getting labeled as psychological problems or internal difficulties actually was a glaring reality that what was happening was they didn't have any peers, they didn't have a place to be out, they were isolated. All the things we know about what happens with gay and lesbian adolescents.
Did you have trouble with the youth as far as them saying that they were gay or lesbian? Did you have to break through some barriers to do that?
Well, some were referred to us because they had already come out to someone or either been found out. The ones that were struggling, more or less, I think there's some things we do as therapists to make our environment safe, whether that's have literature that is gay friendly, have books. I know I had one book, Joining the Tribe, which has the smallest amount of print that says gay and lesbian youth on it, and one of the youth saw it out of all the books on the bookshelf and commented on it. And another thing we do is when we're asking about dating, we ask if, are you dating, do you date guys, girls, or both, and in a way provide a safe environment that allows them to kind of break through those barriers. So what we began to see was there were enough youth that we were seeing that could easily make a support group. So long and short is what we did was we went outside of our center, found a kind of common ground, which happened to be the First Existential Church in Decatur, which we thought was not your stereotypical Protestant religion that often has so many negative overtones for some folks who are gay, lesbian, or bisexual. They gave us free space, and we started our first support group. For about, for 3 months we had no one come, and we learned quickly that you don't get to youth through adults, you get to youth through youth. So once we actually had a youth coming, she brought about 4 friends, and from there we had consistently about 8 or 12 youth through the first year. So that's really how Youth Pride started. About a year after that, we decided to run a contest to see who could come up with the best name, and the names ran the gamut. But we came up with Youth Pride, and it was shortly after that I was approached by a Metropolitan Community Foundation at that time, who was actually running a funding initiative for gay and lesbian organizations. And I, along with David Herman, who was with the Lambda Center, which I guess now is defunct, wrote a grant to create a helpline, and that was our first real program with Youth Pride. And really since then, we really just taken off. I guess it's been 3 years now since we've hired Linda as our first paid staff person with Youth Pride. So.
And the kids have actually taken over the organization as well, to some degree, right?
Very much so. I think from the initial beginning when we created the name and giving the opportunity to the youth to create the name, that really was sort of metaphorically the beginning of our organization for youth and by youth. It didn't start out as youth-focused and youth-driven as it is today, but in part, I think that's been a natural progression because it was real important that initially we had a safe place, which meant we needed to get some safe adults in there to provide that. One of the things that was very apparent at the beginning was that at that time the Gay Center was not able to provide a safe space for some youth, the younger youth. I really started with 13 to 18-year-olds.
That's so important. 13 years old is such an important age.
Yeah.
Was it difficult starting at that young of age? Did you have any problems?
No, not knock on wood. I guess I'm superstitious, but we have done things so cautiously and carefully, and really been very cautious about who we've pulled into the organization. Very systematically, we've pulled people in from the clergy, from the school systems, different people that then could reach out to their larger institutions and say, hey, this organization, even though it's gay and lesbian, because in some of these institutions they're not so sure about us, they could say, hey, this is really a good thing here. This is quality youth programming. And I think we did that so systematically that we really didn't run into the backlash. We didn't run into the religious right, the Laura Schlesingers, crucifying us for providing a service. I think it really worked.
Well, this center, I believe, is the most important accomplishment for our community, and we have you to thank for it. And it's very nice to have you taking steps to help the youth. You do that in a number of ways outside of Youth Pride. With it being National Coming Out Day yesterday, can you tell me what advice you could give to someone who's thinking about taking that step?
Wow. Well, I'm sure there's a lot of advice out there, but one of the things that perhaps I could focus on is something that we definitely focus on with the youth and with anybody that still is very tied to either a parent or guardian. And one of the things that we really promote in Youth Pride is safety before coming out. And for a lot of youth who are just coming into their experience, they want to tell people, and rightly so. I mean, when you've lived bound for so long, and you finally get an idea, oh wow, this is who I am, you want to run out, tell people, which is wonderful in some cases, but I think what's important is to really assess, why do you want to do this, and assess who are you doing this with, because there's a lot of the research speaks to the fact that if you have a negative coming out experience in the first part of your coming out, a lot of times that really clouds the rest of your experience. A lot of people won't come out after that if they've had a really horrendous experience, or it just leads them on a path of not feeling great about themselves. And we're humans, we need positive reinforcement, we need positive feedback, and there's nothing wrong with that. So I think what I would say is, yay, if you're ready. I think it's important from a political standpoint that we be out as much as we can, but I also, from a very psychological standpoint, understand the need for safety. And so I think it's a real tedious balance that I really support.
Thank you very much. Thanks for talking to us today.
Thank you.
Stay tuned to Out TV. Hi, I'm Joey Wills, and I'm here with Stephanie Swann. Stephanie is a professor at the University of Georgia in the psychology department. She is a practicing psychotherapist, and of course, she's the founder of Youth Pride. Hi, Stephanie.
Hi.
Thanks for letting us visit your office. It's quite comfortable in here today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can you tell us, the word psychotherapist kind of is scary for a lot of people, but can you tell us in basic terms what you do?
Sure, absolutely. And it can be scary, and I think it can be even more scary to someone who's gay, lesbian, or bisexual, or struggling with their sexual orientation. And I think that's because historically there's been a pretty negative relationship, meaning that a lot of theories have said that, gay is deviant, and that is no longer the case. Yes, there are some people that still practice, and it's important to know who you're going to see. But in general, psychotherapy is a place where you can come if you've got issues and you've kind of hit your last ropes with trying to do it by yourself. And it's a place to find somebody to do it with, to look at the issues, to look at solutions, to work through things that you just have not been able to find an answer to.
What are your clients like? What kind of range? Do you have youth? Do you have couples?
I do both individual psychotherapy and couples work. My clients range anywhere from older adolescents all the way through the adult years.
That's great. I remember from Psychology 101 that there's certain perspectives that people in the field of psychology follow, which is like your basic philosophy for how, I guess, how the mind works. Can you tell me about what perspectives you follow and how they're gay affirming?
I don't know if I can do that in a really short time period, but what I can say is I think it's, in my work, I look equally at what's going on inside of the person, meaning their thoughts, their feelings, and what leads to behavior. In addition, I also look at the environmental context, because that's very important, especially in the lives of gay, lesbian, and bisexual folks. We tend to live in a place that is oppressive, even if you are lucky enough to live in Midtown Atlanta. There's such things, we talk about gay ghettos, which is not always an affirming term, but meaning I think there's a lot to be said if you're walking through the world having to be defended and not really safe, letting it all hang out.
So you believe there's specific issues that gay and lesbian people would have that need to be addressed if they were pursuing psychotherapy, rather than would they be looking for someone that was either a gay or lesbian therapist, or someone that was very knowledgeable of the community and what it was like to be a gay person?
Well, that's a really good question. I think what is important, not all of my clients who are gay, lesbian, or bisexual are coming to me because of their sexual orientation. It may just be that they are gay, lesbian, or bisexual, comfortable with that, and they have other life issues just like everyone does. But I do think it's important to seek out a therapist, not necessarily who is gay, lesbian, or bisexual, although that may be someone's personal choice, but certainly someone that understands the context of a gay, lesbian, bisexual life. I think that's very important.
As far as couples, what kind of tools do you give couples in communicating and overcoming challenges they may have, as far as maybe not understanding how to have a healthy relationship with each other because there was maybe nothing for them to look at growing up?
Well, I think what you just said, are you a therapist?
No, but
what you just said is an important acknowledgement, and that is that we have not had any role models. To be a gay or lesbian couple is quite a new phenomenon, meaning it's only been recently that some people have said, oh, it's okay. But I think there are specific tools, and I don't agree that gay and lesbian relationships are just like heterosexual relationships, because there are things that we face that we have to contend with that straight couples don't. And I think it's important to acknowledge that context and then also work with the communication difficulties that couples are having. I certainly work with some lesbian couples in which there's this underlying idea that sometimes we get to that women aren't sexual. And I think that's an old idea that we have become ingrained, or that men are only sexual and men get their masculinity through their sexuality. And where does that leave room for emotional commitment or emotional contact? And I don't even mean that I'm privileging monogamous relationships, but just how do we talk about all that, I think, is so important for couples to look at. And it's things that we forget in our hustle and bustle of everyday life that are real important to strengthening relationships.
Wow, well, thanks for all your information. You're obviously a very educated person, and we appreciate all of your ideas and comments. Stay tuned to Out TV for more. Tell me. Take two.
Take two.
Psychologists are real territorial.
think there are 4 of us. We could meet in a phone booth.
Few and far between.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
We're with Reverend Tim Shirley of the Virginia Highland Baptist Church at Virginia Avenue and Ponce de Leon Place. Let's start again. We're with Reverend Tim Shirley, the senior pastor of the Virginia Highland Baptist Church, and that's located here at Ponce de Leon Place and Virginia Avenue. Reverend Shirley, we've been seeing a lot about this question of 2 churches, you and Oakhurst, caught up in this bigger picture of what's going on in the Baptist churches around America. Give us a picture of what this church is and where it fits in this bigger picture.
Well, this is a church that was a traditional Southern Baptist church, left the Southern Baptist Convention in '92, has basically rebuilt itself, stayed in the community, has ministered with its community, and has basically had a turnaround, which of course is pretty rare for in-town churches. And a part of that, of course, has been that a lot of gay and lesbian folks have found their way to our doors, and we've welcomed them.
Oh, you're right in the center of it.
We're right here in the middle of it, and wouldn't want to go anywhere else. This is the best part of Atlanta to be in.
So what has happened with this church and Oakhurst in terms of the Georgia Baptist Association and the Atlanta Baptist Association?
Well, 2 years ago, November of 1999, our churches were excluded by the Georgia Baptist Convention over a statement that was added to their bylaws that basically said that we affirmed homosexual behavior, whatever that is. On the heels of that, a motion was made here in the Atlanta Baptist Association that our churches be excluded. And of course, that finally came after a lot of dialogue, conversation, and I must say good, positive conversation that went before a vote. And the vote was to keep our churches in the association. And that was exciting for us.
So I read that there are like 153 churches in the Atlanta Association, and that annually there are several churches drop for various reasons. What might some of those reasons be?
I don't keep up on those day-to-day workings, so I'm really not sure.
Well, the churches are autonomous unto themselves, though.
That's correct. Every Baptist church is a local, autonomous, self-governing body, and all of its decisions are made internally. There is no denominational hierarchy, and it seems like there must be one if you can be voted out of something. But what we're talking about when we talk about associations and conventions, we're talking about relationships, and both parties choose to be in those relationships.
Let's stop there a sec. Were you okay with the 2-shot and all? Reverend Shirley, of all the issues facing the Baptist churches in America today, we've heard about homosexuality, but there are a bunch of other issues. What are those?
That's right. As many folks know, the Southern Baptist Convention has been in a 20-year conflict that began in about 1979. Began over the issue of the nature of Scripture. As a part of that, the issue of women in ministry, women in the home, women in the workplace has been an issue. Just a host of other kinds of things have been a part of this conflict. All, of course, according to the one side, stemming from certain biblical interpretations. And so the issue of homosexuality is only one part of a much broader picture.
And there's been a new definition or a restatement of definition of marriage, and what is marriage?
Really not so much of marriage, but just a restatement of a more traditional approach that the woman's place is in the home, that the wife is to submit to the husband. It's interesting how convenient the scriptures are skipped that talk about the husband submitting to the wife. But anyway, that created quite a furor a couple of years ago. And so basically all of these things just pattern a very conservative, fundamentalist, if you will, approach to interpretations of Scripture.
So what steps now might the Georgia Convention or the Southern Baptist Convention, or what is the North American Convention? What steps might they take in light of what this support you're now getting from the Atlanta Association?
I don't know. Obviously, in the papers, what I've been reading is it looks like, as with most institutions, you're talking about money. They certainly can pull funds that support various ministries through the association. As to what will happen, I don't know, and really wouldn't feel comfortable commenting on. My hope is that those ministries will continue.
And the future of this church as you see it now in this neighborhood?
We're going to be right here. Hopefully we will continue to grow and continue to be an inclusive community of faith where everyone is welcome. That's kind of our motto. We've been living it now for 9 years, and it's
scared her away.
Welcome.
Say we want to go.
Hi, and welcome to this week's edition of Out TV Atlanta. I'm Joey Job Wills.
Rob Martin here.
We have a great show for you this evening. We're going to visit my friend Adam Kahn, and he's going to show us how to do some container gardening.
And of course, right here in Piedmont Park was the big Dogwood Festival last weekend, and pretty day out here.
It's gorgeous.
And spring's here,
Too much
and
wind.
so you're going gardening.
Too much wind.
Too much wind? Well, fuck it. Oh, good. You son of a... He's moving. Hold on a minute. He's going. He's going.
Hi, welcome to this week's edition of Out TV Atlanta. I'm Joey Job Wills.
I'm Rob Martin, and we're here in Piedmont Park, and it's a pretty day. And last weekend was Dogwood Festival. There are a few right over here, but I don't know whether you can see many in this scene right now, but we'll show you some later. And you're going gardening?
Yes, going gardening with my friend Adam Kahn. He's going to show us how to do some container gardening.
And we've got lots of sports. It's springtime. Get out, get fit.
We have the Women's Georgia Flag Football League, the Atlanta Team Tennis.
Trout, the rainbow trout.
Rainbow trout.
And you know those little skivvy bathing suits they wear?
Yeah, and Hotlanta Volleyball.
And if you're finding all your friends at the bars, why don't you try some of these sports teams? You might find a new lover there. And he's fit or she's fit.
It's much easier to meet people and talk to them.
And what about later in the show?
Well, we also have something, but
Chris
I can't
Rice.
remember. Chris Rice. Sorry. Okay.
Shit.
Sorry.
We're doing so good.
I know it.
All right, once again.
Hi, and welcome to this week's edition of Out TV Atlanta. I'm Joey Job Wills.
I'm Rob Martin, and we're here in Piedmont Park on a pretty day. And last weekend was Dogwood Festival.
Dogwood Festival. Lots of people came out for that.
And we have a few dogwoods right over here, but you'll be seeing some later. We're going to close the show out with some really pretty shots of flowers and trees and things. But you're going gardening this time.
Yes, I'm going gardening with my friend Adam Kahn.
Oh, we
who-
saw him
Right.
last week.
Again, he's showing us how to do some container gardening for your patio or porch, that sort of thing. We also, I also spoke with Chris Rice and talked to him about his book, A Density of Souls.
Oh, he's the son of Ann Rice.
Yes.
And we've talked to him before, and he's still pushing his book.
He's still pushing, but he's an openly gay writer and person, and
How he's come into his own in spite of his famous mom.
right.
And we've got a lot of sports on tonight's show, the first segments.
Georgia women's flag football,
And we're going to see the men in their little skivvy things at Rainbow Trout.
Rainbow Trout, the Atlanta Team Tennis, and the
Volleyball.
Hotlanta Volleyball.
The Hotlanta Volleyball. And if you're using the bars as your principal scene of social contact, why don't you try some sports teams and get fit in the process? It's springtime.
Right, much easier to meet people without the music blaring.
And later we're going to be going to New York City for Queer as Folk. You know, we were up there for the 2001 Gay Expo, and we've got the only exclusive footage of this great talk forum where the cast and the producers, writers of Queer as Folk are there.
So this is a continuation of the last couple of weeks, right?
This is the second episode, major episode, and you'll be seeing even more. So
Right.
let's go to sports.
Yeah, we're going to start out with the Georgia women's flag football.
Let's go play football with the girls.
Enjoy.
You happy? Yep. Good boy. Okay, we come back. And here comes a guy with a dog. Oh, here comes a guy with a dog. Get him. Just keep shooting right there. He's coming right up there. We'll need that for the dog jog. You can drop that in.
Dog jog.
He's coming right around there. Big mastiff or something. Oh no, there he is. Not a mastiff. Off leash.
Oh, it's a brown
What's a
lab.
stray? Is that your pup?
Yeah, it's a brown lab. He's a big
We didn't know
boy.
whether he was a stray or whether he was yours. Hi.
Come here.
Hi, fella.
You've been
Hi,
swimming.
girl.
You've been swimming in the park. Yes.
Is that her first swim? Of today.
Yes.
On the 22nd?
Yeah, we're going to talk about it.
Why don't you let her read that?
Yeah, read that real
Oh,
quick.
that's what you're just about to. We're just right in the middle of your film.
Like a race that you do with your dog. There's like a
walk.
a walk, obstacle course,
Oh, cool. She would love
socializing.
that.
It's a benefit for PALS, which is the group that supports AIDS patients with pets.
Cool.
and
They're just about to.
she's had puppies, has she? Or she just got a big tummy?
That I know. Tom thinks she's really fat. I think she's just a big
Got a
girl.
big tummy.
She's just a big girl.
She's a big girl.
big bone.
You can be honest.
As long as you're
too
not
big.
overfeeding her too
Yeah.
much.
No, he
She's
doesn't
healthy.
fit- He's real strict with her, and
See,
doesn't let.
the bag, the dog companies who want you to eat all their food says 6.5 cups daily.
Right.
She gets 4. She
Oh.
She's ever missed a meal in her
good.
life.
She get lots of exercise.
She likes her snacks.
I ran an hour this morning. She's been in swimming.
All right. So she's way. Yeah, that's good.
This is what you don't want your dog to look like, right? So it's like a dog walk.
Cute. That was great. Okay, you talk about Pride. I'm going to talk about it as being Easter week. No, you talk about Pride. I'll talk about Dog Jog.
And then why don't you just lead right into the container garden? I don't have to say anything about it.
Okay.
Okay.
We're coming out
Of Pride.
Pride and
So
team
just-
tennis.
What-
Okay, I'll say. Well, Rob, there's a lot of other sports activities that the gay and lesbian community can participate in. You can check out any of the local rags, and they'll tell you the other organizations that are around.
And with Pride coming up, you'll get a good walk in the parade that Sunday.
Yes, mark your calendars. You guys want to set your tent up on Wednesday or Thursday before Pride and hang out with your friends. What? This year? Well, we're still here in Piedmont Park. There's a lot of other sports organizations that you can contact that love to have gay and lesbian members in it, and you can get any of the local rags to check those out.
And we just saw the spot about Pride, and it's coming up in June. And
Mark your
it's-
calendars. It's the 23rd and 24th, I believe.
And
22nd, 23rd.
22nd and 23rd, and the march is on Sunday.
Yes.
And it'll be here in the park. I mean, it'll end up here in the park, and this is the focal point of Pride.
Yes, and if you haven't been, it's definitely something that you must do. Entertainment all weekend long. There's a huge stage out there. Comedians, singers, all sorts of things.
Let's go see you and Adam do some container gardening.
All right.
We come out of the Seagra spot, talk about the rodeo when it...
Yeehaw! Get your cowboys.
I wonder who did that
At the Seagra
voiceover.
Rodeo.
Who did that voiceover?
That was some
hick. Just some hick.
some hick cowboy.
Anyhow, Seagra's coming up in the first weekend in June.
Yes, Seagra Rodeo.
That's the big gay rodeo.
Ride your horse. And
Get
goat
humping.
dressing, all sorts of fun things.
Right.
Really fun event.
And this is Easter week for all our good Christian friends out there, and tomorrow's Good Friday, and then Sunday is the big Easter day, big celebration. So get your hats out, girls.
Coming up, we have Chris Rice and his novel, A Density of Souls.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, then, David.
Wigwood is a great event, and Rob's going to pull out his big old beehive hairdo and join everybody there. It's just a dress-up event. It's
It's the one I'm going to wear in the Easter parade first.
maybe a little scary. It's to benefit the AIDS Survival Project and the Atlanta Harm Reduction Center at Backstreet Atlanta, hosted every year. It's really
That's
fun.
that same day, April 22nd. That Sunday will be the Dog Jog, the 15th annual Dog Jog here in the park.
Yeah, I'm bringing my dogs.
Molly, and you got a
Molly
new pup.
And Little Bit. She's a little one.
Bit,
Little Bit is her name.
not with a CH. Bit.
Right.
Got it.
Anyway, you bring your dogs to the park, and there's some races, there's some socialization that goes on, and it's all to benefit Noah's Ark, which is a shelter for lost or abused animals. And also, who else does it benefit? PALS.
PALS, the group that loans pets to people with AIDS.
Right.
And I want to mention about the whatever it was
What was
that
it?
hee-haw. Start your hee-haw tuning in.
My hee-haw.
Oh, we did that before.
I'm doing the Wigwood. Okay, we're back. Rob's gonna put his big old wig on for
Oh, wait.
Wigwood. So you want to come out and see him. Well, hold on a second.
Airplane, helicopter.
April 22nd, come out because Rob's going to be there with his big old beehive wig and some kind of dress that makes him look sexy or feel sexy.
It's the outfit I'm going to wear in the Easter parade first.
Right.
That ought to be
Two
a
of 'em.
sight.
I'm scared of that. But it benefits the Atlanta Harm Reduction Center and AIDS Survival Project. And it's, again, April 22nd at back streets during the day. Bring your dress and pumps out.
And that same day is the dog jog, the 15th annual dog jog here in the park where you bring your dog out. You're going to bring Molly and your new little
Bring
bit.
Molly and Little Bit, and there are races, and your dogs get to socialize with everybody, and so come
And
out for that.
It benefits PALS and Noah's Ark,
And Noah's
which
Ark.
is a rescue shelter.
Right. And of course, PALS is an organization that helps to feed and take care of animals for people living with AIDS.
Exactly. We're now going to New York for our second episode of the Queer as Folk Talk Forum, which we recorded exclusively, by the way, only seen here on OutTV Atlanta. This is a great panel of the cast and the producers, writers of Queer as Folk, and we got them all.
Great.
So let's go to New York for
Enjoy.
Queer as Folk.
Rob Martin, that boy was a little young for you.
Oh, little Joe from NYC?
Yeah.
Well, we happened to run into him in Times Square, and he just wanted to talk to us, so he said hello.
Well, that's cool.
We don't pick him up that young, you know.
Okay. We.
No. Never.
That's right.
Anyhow, next week we are going to do a big piece on New York City as a gay travel destination, and the
Sounds
March 5th issue of New York Magazine was devoted entirely to gay life in New York.
Is that a gay magazine?
No, New York Magazine is a legitimate magazine that profiles all parts of the city. It's like Atlanta Magazine.
Okay.
But they devoted a whole issue to gay life in New York, and you know, they found that New York and even the suburbs of New York are a very friendly gay place, even with straight people dealing with people at work and their next door neighbors, all that. So it's very favorable stuff.
All right.
We are also going to be seeing more of little Justin from Queer as Folk. We're back next week with another segment out of this series, and so stand by.
And we'll see some more from our new correspondent, Jonathan Jackson, who is doing some interviews with the Vagina Monologues, that play.
And we're going to talk more about Jonathan Jackson. He's a really interesting young man.
Right now, he's actually in New York on the Ricky Lake Show.
He's been
Coming
on,
out to Another Dad.
Really?
We're going to talk all about that.
He's got a
later.
fantastic background. He's only 17.
Yes.
And by the way, little Justin, who is from Atlanta, you know, he went to Pace Academy. He graduated in 1996. Is only 23 years old, but he plays a 17-year-old in the series. So, anyhow, we'll see you next Thursday. Have a good week.
Bye.
Yeah, I like doing that more. 'Cause then
I do too. It's just informative. It's gonna.
It looks like we're in Papa stuff. Of course, there are a million people out there saying, why didn't they mention our organization? But they're still showing that old stuff from last year's ordinance stuff.
You're assuming that everybody tunes in every week. And it's just the three of us that watch every Thursday. Right, we watch it all day Thursday.
Dogwoods.
So what did they allow the festival people do here over the weekend in the way of stuff?
Kept it all on the road, I think.